You're fighting one of the biggest names of our era, Capitan Petchyindee. Welcome to Chok Muay Chats. I am Joe Comerford, commentator, content creator, and fat Muay Thai nerd. I'm sitting here with former WBC Welterweight Muay Thai champion, Max McVicker. This is episode 52, I do believe, if my CTE serves me correctly. Please like, share, and subscribe. Welcome, Max McVicker. Welcome to the podcast for the very first time.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Thank you for coming on. Now, I suppose we'll just get straight into it because I know you're a busy man, a man of many talents. Can you talk to us a little bit about the origin story? Like, a lot of people know that you got started very young. Your dad is a trainer. You're originally from Manchester, then you moved to Perth, I do believe, and your dad owns a gym, Three Lions, over there in Perth. Has a few very, very fantastic fighters. Can you tell us a little bit about the amateur career and then turning pro?
Yeah, so I mean, you basically covered it. Yeah, I started very young in England with my dad and with a lady in England called Trisha, who also trained Neve Kinahan. Obviously, anyone who knows international like female Muay Thai will know Neve. We trained together since I was 5 years old. She was about 7. We moved to Australia when I was 11 years old, or 10, 11 years old. And I started fighting professionally. I started fighting when I believe, I had my first fight in Thailand when I was like 14. They started to bring rules in Australia at that time. So in Australia, I would fight amateur, but often I would fight Thai kids or even Thai older people who would come in to fight me in Australia, and then obviously I would fly to Thailand and fight there. So that's when I turned professional, when I was about 14, 15.
Yeah, it's interesting that because, it seems like when you look at you stylistically, even Thai commentators have said this back on the RWS tournament last year, that you're basically a Thai trapped in a foreigner's body. The way that you fight like a Thai. And do you think those early days of, fighting in Thailand when you were 14 and then fighting Thais has made you fight more like a Thai?
I think it's a combination of, I've had extra time, the same way the Thais have, to just practice the sort of like fancy ring craft type of things that they have. I've had like 20 years of experience almost now, and I'm 24. And I did start fighting as soon as I started Muay Thai. So I wasn't just practicing like pad work. I was already fighting, learning to like sweep, lean back, kick, check, do all those things like in action from a real young age. And I had lots of experience doing that. But I think also I've been quite inquisitive and always done a bunch of research as well. So like since I was young, I'd always watch and source really high level fights, and I would just try to copy. So I've been copying like the sort of femur fighters since I was very young, and just trying to replicate that. And now obviously I'm at a point where I can sort of make it my own. So I think that's where it comes from. I've always just had a keen mind for figuring it out, I suppose, over a long period of time consistently. So it's like a formula for to end up like that.
Yeah, just thinking about that, going and sourcing materials, who do you think, if you could name maybe like 3, who are some of the biggest influences on your style?
As in people?
Yeah, as in people, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my top ones, I mean, anyone who knows me quite close to me knows I have a real dear place in my heart for Sangmani when he was in his prime. He was like no matter whether he's like my football team. When a English person's football team does really well or really bad, it like makes them happy or sad. I'm the same with Sangmani. Like when his career's gone really good, I've been really happy. Obviously with his recent dramas, I won't speak too much, but is up and down throughout his career. I've always tried to support him. So I got a lot of my style from him, and Ole Kiatwanway is an old one from the golden era who's got that real nice like a lot of people talk about Sanchai for the lean back and the sweeping that sort of thing, but Ole was like the guy before the guy for that sort of thing, and of course Sanchai as well. Just he Ole walked so he could run kind of thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Sanchai took it to a whole new level. So I think those three would probably be the three that I would influence me the most.
Do you think video study is a really important thing for people learning Muay Thai? Studying the source and then trying to implement that in their own training.
Yeah, I think it's really important where you source it from, though. Like
Mm.
a lot of people will, and how you watch it is a lot of people just mindlessly watch things like I don't know the middle card of one Friday fight nights and think, yeah, I'm just gonna punch on, But like I think I would spend a lot of time rewinding. Muay Thais is like a page that I like a YouTube channel that I would spend a lot of time on when I was a bit younger. They've got all of the sort of the peak of Raja and Lumpini, all those fights when like Yodlek Pet, Sangmini and like Muay Thai, Superbank, like those types of fights around that time where they were all fighting each other and how the different styles would match up against each other. Like, your Pet Boonchus and Yodwichas where the two Muay Khao would clinch for the whole fight, and then you'd have like a Superbank against the Muay Thai where you'd have someone who's really femur versus somebody who is like Moisot, who wants to come and just clinch an elbow. Like if you're watching to learn, it's kind of like watching a TV show, but you're on your phone and you're sort of half paying attention. You won't get the storyline. Whereas if your intent is to watch and learn from good sources, that's when you're going to get a winning formula, I think. So it's a really powerful tool if you use it properly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Utilizing the right resources. It's, I thought we were nearly going to segue into one of my favorite topics of, online shite, the plethora of online shite that is out there. Discussion that you and I often have,
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
flog a dead horse online about that, but we won't get into that because I'll just end up getting angry. Now you've been back and forth between Thailand a long time, as you said, since you were 14. How much the accumulation of time, how much time do you actually think you've spent all up in Thailand over the years?
Probably not as much as people would assume I have, to
Mm,
be fair. My trips have always been, I mean, last year I spent 6 months in Thailand for the tournament. Um, Other than that, my trips have always been quite short, like always less than a few months. So so over the last year, I've probably spent about 8 to 9 months in Thailand, probably about accumulated a year and a half
mm,
altogether
okay.
throughout my life, but not never like this is last year was the first time I lived in Thailand and I had my own rent. Like, I wasn't staying in a hotel or I wasn't, staying at just like the local gym that I was training at. Like I had my own house and I was living here and paying bills consistently and with Hannah, of course. And then this year I've got my own house as well and I'm staying here. But before that, it was always shorter trips.
Okay, yeah, interesting because I think a lot of people would assume that, you've done long stints, when they think about
Mm.
your style. But I mean, the other aspect is that, you've had exposure to a lot of ties in terms of fighting a lot of ties. And then also the other part is, you've had a few Thai trainers at the gyms that you've trained at. Of course, at Muay U, you had San Sitmanchai there as well. But it's, I think a lot of people don't realize that, staying here long term isn't the be and end all. You get just as good training in Australia or internationally as you would in Thailand, but it's the intention that you put into it, I think.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
now adjusting from training in Australia to Thailand. What do you think the big difference is for you, at least?
Adjusting from Australia to Thailand, for me, I think the difference for me versus a lot of people is like for me in particular, I've been doing Muay Thai so long now that um, I've gotten to the point where learning to come into Thailand for a lot of people is a really good thing to help them learn to be tough and just do it because it's hard and it's difficult for difficult sake, and that's a good thing. Like you learn to be a tough person
Mm.
and to train harder than everyone else and to grind it out to get results, and that's a real helpful skill to have in life. But I genuinely believe Muay Thai is one of the hardest sports on the planet, just because of the nature of it. You know, like everything about it is difficult, um, and you get none of the cushy stuff that boxing gets. Um, so it's like it's inherently hard the same way boxing is, but you don't get any of the nice rewards as well. So it can be double hard at times. And I think that going to Thailand and just learning how to put up with those things can make you a very strong person, mentally and physically. I think for me, the main difference is I, in Australia, a lot of people can vouch for this as well. Like Darren Reese, when I was last in Perth, would be a good person to ask. Is like now at this point, I'm the person they have to tell me to stop because I'll always do more. I'll always outwork and out train, and I'll go out and I'll be there early and I'll finish late. And you know, Darren Reese and even Leo here sometimes they have to tell me to stop. Which wasn't like I wasn't like that in my teens, but I've reached a point now where um, the guys I fight I'm too good are too good for me to just like coast around. So I'm always the outworker, the hardest worker. I think anyway. I genuinely believe that. But here, the main difference is I have to stop. Like, because if I just keep going, um, the nature of the training is so grindy that you end up doing everything at 30% instead of like if instead of doing 2 hours at 80%, which is obviously like you can't be 100% all the time, but if you can do 2 hours at 80% rather than if you did 3 hours but then the entire 3 hours is 40%, you'd rather do the 2 hours at the 80%. It's just more bang for your buck. You're a better athlete, you're stronger for it, you get more gains, you get more returns. And I think earlier in the year, for those who have like kept up with my career, the reason I had to go back to Australia is because I went past the point of diminishing returns, and like we still don't know exactly what caused it, but I reached a point where my nervous system was so shot that I was getting like 3 hours sleep a night. I was waking up, my heart was pounding, I was sweating. I'd do 2, 3 rounds of pads and I would be absolutely wiped for the rest of the day. No matter what I ate, I couldn't put on weight. I was like, my body had given up on me. And I genuinely believe that it was because when I was sick, I kept training. Whenever I was tired, I kept training. And I just trained myself so hard that I ran myself into the ground. And my body couldn't handle it anymore. And it took
Mm.
months for it to recover. So I think the difference here is I just have to tell myself to stop sometimes. I just have to take a break and relax. I say that after just finishing training on a Sunday, but
Yeah, well, I mean that's what champions are made of. But also, especially as you come into what we be considered probably the later aspect of your career in Thailand, at least, you have to listen to your body a little bit more. But I mean, with all the sports science and nutrition, you pretty much fight up until you're 40 these days, so you still
yeah.
got still got a long time.
Yeah,
If we,
yeah. I think before my body gives up, it will be a case of making sure that my head doesn't get hit too much. That's my number one concern, I think.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, stylistically, you don't have to worry about that too much, the way that you fight. But you know, I think you've got a long road ahead of you. Now, speaking of roads, there was a particular journey that, I followed when you were in the RWS Welterweight Tournament last year. For those who don't know, you were doing quite well on there. Can you speak a little bit about how that came about and what was the journey like on RWS?
I love RWS. It's like, I reckon it's the best thing that's happened to Muay Thai for a long time. Obviously, we had COVID, and that sucked. It ruined Muay Thai in Thailand, basically. And obviously, one championship came in, and I don't hate one championship for what it's done to Muay Thai. It's brought a lot of people success and a lot of people money. However, it's changed the sport in a way that nobody was prepared for. A lot of the tradition and a lot of the heritage has been lost in one championship, but has been preserved a lot better by RWS. So I'm just glad that they set up the platform that they did in the time that they did. And I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to take part in it. The authenticity of fighting at Rajadamnern is still there when you do fight on RWS, which feels so special for me. And they've kept certain aspects in play that make me feel really at home when I fight in Muay Thai. I fought my first fight in RWS against a fighter called Yod Kompatak, who is in the later stages of his own career as well. And a little fun fact about that, my odds were like 10-1 going into that fight.
Yeah, I remember.
Had like a 1 in 10 chance of winning, according to the gamblers. But I managed to win that against him. And then I believe I was meant to fight Sajjad in the next fight after that. But unfortunately, he got injured. And a few days before the fight, actually, I think sparring with Nabil. And so I fought a late replacement from Ukraine and won that one as well, which secured me. I think I was actually already in the RWS tournament at that time. I think the first fight secured me a spot in it. And then the RWS tournament came about, and I was in the same group as Yodwichar, Hercules, and Sajjad. So I fought those three consecutively across 3 months, and I think I'd actually fought the 2 prior months to that. So I had 5 fights on RWS in 5 to 6 months or something like that. So it was a hard process actually, and that was the time that I spent in Thailand as well. The Yodwichar fight, I wasn't too upset about. I was happy about the way I fought in that fight. I know a lot of people, even a lot of Thais in Thailand, were quite upset that I didn't win the second round, which obviously with the open scoring changes the way that the third round plays out as well. So if I'd have been given that second round, who knows what would have happened in the third, but fighting something my dad's always said to me, fighting Thais in their home stadiums and stuff like that, you have to take it from them. You can't give anybody an opportunity to score against you.
And Yodwich is always going to be one of those tough fights. Whatever way you fight him, it depends whether he's going to take the fight to you or whether he's going to sit on the back foot and just lock up and run down the clock. So it's always going to be a tricky one to win. And it with him, it always seems like it's on a razor's edge. So, I get that.
Yeah, I definitely felt coming out of that fight like I did get a lot of respect for it. So regardless of whether I won or lost, a lot of people respected me for it afterwards. And then took some of that momentum into the fight against Sajjad after that. And obviously got one of the biggest wins in my career so far against Sajjad, who at the time was one of the best foreigners in probably the number one foreigner in the world at that time, I reckon.
Yeah, it was an interesting one because there was also that kind of the drama about or the narrative about, the WBC belt the year prior on 1774, and then that kind of got delayed, and then there was the fight that was supposed to happen on RWS, and then that got delayed, and finally, it kind of all came together, and it happened. It was a phenomenal fight. I remember being there and watching ringside. And it was
I think one of the funny thing about that was obviously the first time we were meant to fight, he broke his hand fighting on one championship. Before that. So I went on to fight Warapon for the title, and then we were meant to fight the second time, and he got injured fighting Win And for those who don't know, behind the scenes, Sajad and I get along fine. Like, we talk on Instagram all the time. A lot of the fighters are like that behind the scenes. Like, you don't actually see them communicate, but we all talk to each other fine behind the scenes. But it was like Iranians and Australians in the comments were going back and forth at each other, and they were almost like fighting a war that him and I weren't even part of.
Well, it's also good because you know what, it helps sells the fight a bit more as well. It was a fight that a lot of us and me personally that I've been wanting to see for about 2 years, because I'm a big fan of you both, and I get along with you both, and it was it was finally great to see something that had been a year and, well, more than, like, it had almost been 2 years in the making finally happen on my favorite platform. So it was like a teenage dream come true.
Yeah, I think it was enjoyable for us as well. As much as, like, it was never, there was absolutely nothing personal between Sajad and I, but we've gotten to the point in our careers where we enjoy that bit of pressure. There's some eyes on us, and like, you kind of got your country behind you a little bit. So it's a nice feeling to like put the stakes up a little bit, kind of like a hidden version of gambling in your own head. Put some pressure on, put some money down on it.
Now, after all that was done, you got the RWS tournament out of the way. You decided to make the transition to 5-round traditional Muay Thai. So you were, I think did you fight on Omnoy? I can't remember whether you fought on Omnoy first.
I still fought at Rajadamnern twice. I fought on Saw Samai.
That's right. Yeah. For some reason, I thought that you'd fought on Omnoy and then you went to the Saw Samai. You went to Saw Samai twice.
I fought Saw Samai twice. The second time I fought the current Omnoy Stadium champion, though. So that was the second fight was against the Omnoy Stadium champion. Now,
you did really well on the Saw Samai circuit, and I remember speaking to you about this. The dream was to go and test yourself out in the 5-round circuit. Can you tell everybody why? Why was fighting on the traditional 5-round circuit so important? Because you'd already done everything else and sort of achieved everything else. But why was this so important to you?
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. One, there's the external factor of, like, I just want to prove I can do it all. Like, by the end of my career, I want to have finished everything, and there's a certain order I want to do it in, and I could go into heaps of details about why I want to do this in that order and that order, but it was on the list of things to do. It was the earlier on the list because I have to be staying in Thailand to do it. Like, I can't be living in Australia, and obviously the older I get, the more I need to be in Australia to have a family and settle down, that type of thing. So if I was going to do it, I was going to do it now. I wanted to prove I could do it to myself, the Thai people, to everyone else. I want to be able to finish my career and say I won here, 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 and here. There was nowhere I couldn't do it. For everybody who then, when I go on to coach, I can know how to fight in every place that there is to fight. And also, it was just, I grew up watching it as well. Like, now I can fight in RWS. RWS didn't exist when I was, 10, 11 years old, watching these guys. I watched them all fight. I watched Superlek and Pampayak, for example. I watched them fight 5 rounds in Rajadamnern with the gamblers present, and then fight in, conservatively in round 1 and 2, and then being extremely aggressive in round 3 and 4, and then being very careful about the gambling odds in round 5. I wanted to experience that at a high level.
Mm.
I'd done it in smaller stadiums. I just wanted to be able to do it in the top in Rajadamnern, the highest point I could get to in those stadiums. And of course, that doesn't exist on the same scale anymore here in Thailand because of everything that happened with COVID. Now we have RWS, and now we have one championship. But I just wanted to prove I could do it to myself more than anything. It was just a dream I had. So I think, honestly, I didn't get to do it as much as I'd wanted to. My health has limited it. The opponents that are available at my weight now is very limited. And I doubt that I'll get many more opportunities to do it. I believe that I'll end up back on RWS very soon just because of the way the chips have fallen. But I feel like I've proven myself anyway. I think I fought like the top guys in the 5 rounds, my first 2 fights, and I managed to quite comfortably win those and, beat the current Omnoy Stadium champion quite comfortably. So just proving I could do it was enough for me, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you say the way the chips are falling and that you might be fighting on RWS soon, because it was only not yesterday but last week, Aaron, when Tapao Gao defended his belt, we said in the final we said in the final part, Max McVicker, where are you? Where are you? The welterweight division is calling. So,
my mum sent it to me.
Yeah, mate, make it happen. Make it happen. But before you do that, you got one of the biggest things happening in your career, and probably one of, besides the Rajadamnern belt, perhaps internationally, the pinnacle of Muay Thai, the Diamond Belt, in early next month, part of the WBC convention that's coming up here in Bangkok. You're fighting one of the biggest names of our era, Capitan Petchyindee. Now, what does the WBC Diamond Belt mean to you? Because you've already achieved World Championship status, WBC Muay Thai. You've already had the green and gold beauty. What does the Diamond Belt mean?
I mean, it's weird to talk. I was speaking to my dad the other day. I was actually quite down and tired and stuff. And he said to me, he said, like, power yourself up. This is to cement your legacy. And I was like, I thought in my head, I'm only 24. Talking about legacy, it's a weird thing. Like, legacy is something I think about when I think of, like, I don't know, Raymond Deckers or John Wayne Parr, or even like Liam Harrison. Now he's still fighting, but like those types of guys, they're coming towards the end of their career and talking about legacy and stuff like that. But I suppose it does sort of cement me in history. I think there's one guy from Australia who's won a diamond belt, and there's one guy from England who's ever won a diamond belt, and there's only like 11 people who've ever won a diamond belt. And the types of names that come up are Borkau, Sanchai, Liam Harrison. Like, to be put into a category where only those of that elite status are included is a very special thing to me. But not only that, I also have a long career ahead of me, and fighting Capitan, who former One Championship world champion, former Thailand champion, former Lumpini champion, fought the very best of the best for a long time. I remember watching him fight with Damien Alamos, who is another one of my favourites, who has his own legacy as well. That is an achievement in and of itself, and obviously taking a win away from that would be even more amazing. And it would be like a stamp in time for me. It also would create a good opportunity for me in the future, with Capitan being the ranked number 1 in RWS at 63.5 kilos. I know that all of my fights in RWS so far have been at 147. with the way that my body has been going over the last, year and a half, I've been speaking a lot with my nutritionist, and we have considered me moving to doing a couple fights at maybe 145, 144, and then seeing if we could do a title shot for the 140 belt at Rajadamnern as well.
Mm-hmm.
I am very short for 147, and I could possibly fight for the 147 belt, but it's also a possibility for me to move down to 140 as well. That I would like to see if that opportunity could unfold off the back of a fight like this as well, to beat the ranked number one in RWS at 140 may create an opportunity for me to fight with Dan Paronchai for the Rajadamnern title at 140 in the new year. So I think that's something that I'd be very interested in as well.
Yeah, well, we've got the interim belt coming up next week with Runkau. So that there's a conversations to be had next week, but certainly speaking about this sort of changes the narrative up in terms of the divisions now. So if Taishi Warm, if you're listening, now it's time to start moving some parts. Now, Capitan, known for nuclear power, he's relentless. Man, how do you prepare for a name and a fight like this? Especially, we're talking about legacy. It's all about stories at this point. How do you prepare, not just physically, but psychologically for something like this?
Honestly, I think I've done it for this long now that it's that everyone's just a person at the end of the day. When I fought Yodwichar, people were coming up to me telling me I was going to die. People were coming up to me basically saying I had no chance. Even the Thai comments were absolutely brutal. I was fighting the current champion of Rajadamnern at super welterweight, so it's 70 kilos. He was first time he was competing down a weight class at 66.6 in years and years and years. So he'd just come off massive wars with Daniel Rodriguez, and the one that he'd just won. He was the current champion in Rajadamnern. And I was just a little white boy. I was just a little foreigner who'd beat, I'd beat Warapon, I'd beat a couple of people in Australia, and I'd beat some decent guys, but not a Yodmoy, not Yodwichar, And then I got in there with a guy that, towered over me and put on a great fight. Some people arguably thought I'd won. So there's nothing to be scared of anymore, There's nothing to be scared of. Prepare for it the same way I prepare for every other fight. I look at what that person's good at. I contrast it with what works well against that style for me. And make sure I play into my own strengths. I make sure I'm very fit. I make sure I'm conditioned and strong for the occasion. And I believe in myself. And so far that's worked.
Yeah. Oh mate, I can't wait for it. Unfortunately I won't be there, but I'll be watching. I'll certainly be watching and maybe placing a few cheeky little side things. So, hopefully my transactions look a little bit better after it. So, mate, thank you for coming on. I know it's a big thing. When and where can people check out the upcoming WBC Diamond Belt fight coming up against Capitan?
So, for those who want to be there in person, it's at Benchasiri Park in Bangkok at the WBC convention. The convention runs from, I believe, the 29th of November up until the 6th of December, or along those lines, or it might be the 4th.
Yeah, it's about the 30th of December to the 2nd of December, I think.
Right, okay. So there's a whole bunch of stuff across that week, right? Obviously my fight is on the 2nd, and I believe the show starts at 6:30 p.m. on the 2nd, on the Tuesday. But for those who are at home, of course, in Thailand or Australia, it's going to be streamed on the Pride TV app. I believe it'll be pay-per-view. And I do have my reservations about how easy it's going to be to access in Australia through a Thai app. However, I'm going to push to see if they've foolproofed that yet as well.
My advice for people at home, if you want to watch it, probably best to get a VPN, and I think it probably costs about $10 to get the tokens. I think you get about the Pride app. I think you get about 4 tokens for about 200 baht, and I think that gives you four shows. That's it. That's your entry level there. So definitely try and get onto it. As more information comes out about streaming for it, I will put more information out there for those who want to watch it. I thought I did see that perhaps the Zone might have been involved, but I don't know if that's for the boxing event.
I believe that's just for the boxing
Okay,
event.
all
I think the Pride the reason that it's on Pride TV is obviously there's Petchyindee fighters on,
Yes. Okay.
and
So yeah.
Pride is run by Petchyindee.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. That makes sense. So, well, thank you, sir. I know you're a busy man, especially on a Sunday. Thank you for coming on and giving me a bit of content to work with. And also, I wish you the best of luck in preparation for December 2nd. I hope your weight cut goes well, and I hope to see you with the green and gold beauty, but encrusted with diamonds this time.
Yes.
Thank
you for having me on.
No worries, my man. Thank you. Big fan of everything that you do and everything that you say. So, Max McVicker, former world champion, about to be Diamond Belt champion, and hopefully see him back on RWS in the near future next year. Thank you very much for coming on. Where can people find you online, my friend?
The best place to access me is Instagram, I reckon. My Instagram is at Max_McVicker. You can find me on Facebook. All my social media is just my name, Max McVicker or Maximus McVicker. But yeah, Instagram's the place to look. I also have a YouTube channel with the same tagline as well.
Excellent. Yeah, if people want to go check out some of the behind the scenes content with Max, like training and some of his fights on RWS and preparation, definitely go check out his YouTube channel as well. Some fantastic insights in what it's like to be a champion. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you can check out this episode on Spotify and YouTube. It will be up this evening on both those platforms. I'm Joe Comerford. Once again, this is Chok Muay Chats, episode 52. Thank you very much.